Welcome back to the kitchen, everybody. So how organic local grower had fennel in store, and fennel is great to cook it as soon as it's fresh off the ground. You don't want to waste any time, but it is a bit of an odd vegetable. So in this video, we're going to see exactly how we can prepare the fennel, how we can chop it, and how we can cook it. I'm going to give you different methods, but we're going to be making one recipe which is almost like a braised fennel with wine, lemon, and coriander. Let's go. So here we are, let's talk about fennel. So if you're not too familiar with fennel, this is the vegetable that you see when it's whole. Sometimes in the supermarket they've cut the stalks, but let's look at the three main parts. On one end you've got here the stalks that we're going to remove, and you can do certain things with it, more on that in a bit. You've got the end bit that we're going to trim, and of course the most important, this is the part you eat, the bulb. Okay, these are the three components. To prepare it, it is very simple. You're going to get your knife. You can start by trimming a little bit, so don't overdo it. Okay, when you do this, just trim the end bits, and what you want to do here is to first get rid of the stalks, and then we're going to remove this outer leaf here. You can see it gets a little bit brown. This is where the brown starts to appear. This is where people handle the vegetable, and usually it's the kind of leaf that you remove because it's also very fibrous. There's a lot of fiber that you don't want, so we're going to take care of this afterwards. But before we do so, you find something comfortable for you to cut. You're going to take a good part here, and boom, you've got the bulb and you've got the stalks. Now let's start with the first element here, talking about the stalk. I had something on Instagram, people asking me, can you eat these? Can you prepare them? Yes. So when you have the stalk of a fennel, you can use and trim off these. You can use a knife, I'm using my hand here. Okay, you can use these, sometimes for decoration. Sometimes you can use this to fill or stuff like a fish. Or also for some other purpose, you can wrap it into like a cloth and to make a bit of a diffuser for kind of a bouquet garni kind of thing. But it is quite a useful thing to use. You can do the same with the main stalk here, and you can actually blanch it a little bit. You always want to blanch the fennel because it may be a little bit bitter, or you can leave it raw for a salad. And if you thinly chop it, you're going to thinly chop it like this, you can use it into a salad when it's raw. Now, for me, okay, this is a personal thing. There's a lot of fiber, there's a lot of joints. I would kind of peel it like a celery, and then chop it and use it. But you can use absolutely the stalk. Now, let's move on to this one. Now, the bulb. I did mention about that kind of leaf. It wraps around the bulb a bit like a coat, like a protective layer. And if you look closely here, all of the leaves are in fact going down the bottom, and they attach via here the main stalk at the bottom. So the reason I'm saying, you don't chop the whole thing, because if you do, the outer and the inner leaves are going to fall apart. Okay, and because here what we want to do is detach only that leaf, and you see it doesn't really go straight away because I'll still have some of the stalks. So I'm going to go very carefully, again removing a layer until that leaves peels off, and boom, it's off. And now I'm left with a beautiful part of the bulb, okay? And that's what we want to use. So what if the first leaf that you remove, that we have here, is still very brown? Well, you're going to try to remove a second one, but you have to be careful because there's a sacrifice to it. And you can get the original size here, and if you remove the second leaf after that, this is what I've done with another one here, this is what you get. You see the size of the fennel reduce drastically. So it is a bit of an up to you kind of decision. I would say that if there's a few marks, don't bother, use the fennel, otherwise you're going to waste the whole thing, you're going to end up with nothing on your plate. In any case, let's continue. So a lot of people wonder, how do you actually chop fennel? It is very simple. Once you've got the little bulb, you're going to cut it in half. Okay, that's the first thing, that's the first option. And you can then cut it again in quarters if you like. Once it's cut in half or quarters, all what you need to do is to really, you can thinly slice your fennel like this in little bits for a salad. Now if it's half like this, you're going to get big slices, so that is maybe not the best option. You maybe want to half it to have these small pieces, but then it's just thinly sliced. That's about it. You don't need really to dice it or anything like this. The dicing is going to be perhaps for the stalks or anything like this, but for the bulb, thinly sliced usually it's fine. But for us here, for the recipe, we're gonna discard these bits here. We're gonna keep the half, okay, because that's what we want. So I'm gonna take the other piece here, I'm gonna do the exact same thing, a larger one, I'm gonna keep it in half, and that's it. I'm gonna do the rest for all the fennels. Okay, so let's have a look at the ingredients we're gonna need for that recipe. We're gonna have, of course, the fennel, wine, water, thyme, bay leaf, coriander seeds, olive oil, and lemon juice. What are the ways you can cook fennel? You can eat it raw in a salad by chopping it like I show you. Thin, large slices for a fennel salad, small, thin slices, little bit from the stalks in a salad that has other ingredients. You can braise it or poach it or almost steam it like we're gonna do here. That's the second method. And you can also roast it, and I've got a video on this. I'll put a link in the video description, okay? Now, there's one thing you need to know. If you're not making a salad, okay, so anything else than a salad, fennel always has to be blanched before you can cook it, okay? This is a golden rule, and that's what we're gonna start with. Now you may wonder, what is blanching? Blanching is the action of putting an ingredient or immerse it in salty boiling water for just a few minutes to par cook it. It is a common practice in all sorts of cooking. We're gonna take our fennel and we're gonna count 3 minutes. So we're not cooking anything, we're just plunging into the water. Why are we doing this? Because sometimes fennel can get a little bit bitter, and it also acts as a good sanitizer. You know, if you have anything hanging around there, you know, on the fennel, you never know you've been holding it. It's a good way of blanching. So count 3 minutes and then we'll take it out. After 3 minutes time, I'm gonna turn my heat off. We're gonna scoop. You're not gonna use a pair of tongs because it's very fragile. We're gonna scoop this and put this into a sieve, and we're not rinsing it. Okay, very important. I'm gonna let it drip naturally in my sieve on here. So how fennel is blanched, is here, is ready, is resting, is fuming away. And now we can talk about an additional step, which is talking about the aesthetic of the fennel. So this is something I'm more and more conscious about, because this is gonna be steamed. It's gonna look a little bit like this at the end, which is a little bit bland. And when we talk about aesthetic, if you're in a restaurant, whatever, we want to give the fennel a little extra look of something. So what I'm gonna do here, as a little trick, totally optional, I'm gonna use a grill here with some oil, and I'm just gonna color my fennel very, very slightly, just to give it some attractive stripes, just for a few minutes. So all what we're doing here is for the aesthetic, okay? And I'm gonna be very careful when I'm using my fennel, just to show you, see, I want a slight mark, and that's it. It is just to please the eye. You know, if it's not enough, you can put it back somewhere, but it's just that little marks to make it just that little bit more appetizing. And here we are. So as you can see now, the boring fennel that was, you know, uniform in color now has a little bit of contrast, and is gonna add some slight roasty flavor to our preparation, and it just looks like a little magazine, you know, these kind of sharp grilled marks. Yeah, I love these things. So now let's start the cooking of the fennel. And we're all set up. Look at this, this is exciting, right? When it's little colors. And I've got my special pan. This is one of my favorite stainless steel little pan, because it's miniature kind of size. So I'm gonna put my heat there on a kind of a medium, and this is super simple. Or what you're gonna do, you're gonna get the wine up, we're gonna get the water up, we're gonna add the coriander seeds, boom, splash, this is the bay leaf, and a little sprinkle of thyme in here, and we're gonna finish with a few grains of salt and pepper. Yumma! And bring this to a simmer. Okay, so here we are, almost simmering, and now I'm gonna carefully take my pieces of fennel, place them in there. So when I say braising, you see braising because it's a small amount of liquid, but we're not using the oven. In effect, we're almost going to steam this. This is typical of the south of France to keep these flavors. So let me readjust the camera to show you. And here we are. So I had another take, my microphone decided not to work, but you may wonder what happened to the olive oil and the lemon. Lemon is for the end, but the olive oil, just before we cook it, you're gonna take it and you drizzle it over the fennel. When that's ready, we're gonna put a lid on and leave this to infuse in the steam and to cook with the steam for 35 to 40 minutes until a knife can go easily through the fennel. And this is a typical method from the south of France. I'm gonna put a lid on and I'll see you in about 35 to 40 minutes time. After 40 minutes, this is the result. It looks exactly the same as before, but now when we take a knife, I can plunge this very, very easily through any of the hearts and the stalks of the fennel. That means it is perfectly cooked and tender. What we can do here to finish, you can use these olive oil juices, and we're going to use it to do a final baste, okay, all over, and that's it. We're going to serve and add the final touches. So here we are. Before we show you the dish, we need to set up the scene. Imagine you're in the south of France, you're sitting on a sunny terrace, a grilled fish is arriving on the table, and suddenly here comes the side, the fennel. Fennel of the south is not that kind of thing full of stock, full of oil. You get that really nice, healthy looking, a little char grilled. I've used little pieces here of the fennel bits to decorate, and that's the essence of it. The final touches that I'm talking about, what are they? These, the cooking juices from the fennel, infused with wine, infused with coriander, that you're gonna baste a little bit, all over to add some moisture. It's a little bit fatty, it's a bit like a dressing. This is where you also have a bit of lemon, a drizzle of lemon over. And that is gonna really transform the thing, almost like a vinaigrette. And to finish, a bit of salt and a grind of pepper. And that's it. You've got your South of France style grilled fennel. Now, what can you serve this with? Anything that is grilled is obviously reserved for the hotter days, it's nicer. Anything on the barbecue, but a grilled fish, a grilled lamb, anything like this is perfect. Now, let's try it. Of course, I'm not going to destroy the dish, but I've got a little piece here, and if my knife is sharp enough, I'm just going to cut a little, or maybe the heart. Ooh, I like that. Now you see what I mean? It is juicy. It's got a little bit of a tang with the lemon, but because it's really, really well cooked through, it's really tender, moist, and if you have a meat that's kind of grilled and fatty, it's gonna be a perfect combination. It really works. I think it looks great. But we are done. That completes the video for this week. I hope this has answered some of your questions regarding fennel. You've got a nice recipe to try at home. Again, if you're making it, hashtag French Cook Academy. If you have any question regarding the fennel or its recipes, use the comment section here. And if you want to learn more of the techniques, remember the online culinary school. As for me, I will see you all next week with another cooking video at the French Cook Academy. Take care all. Bye-bye.